It's about 30 minutes is your joke, Florida.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm really excited about today's guest, Dr. Renée Baker, and she's a personal finance expert and entrepreneur. She's bridging Wall Street wisdom with entrepreneurial spirit. She's got a fantastic journey of finance, growth, and authentic storytelling. I love talking to guests with this sort of experience and background. And with that, Dr. Renée, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about our conversation for so many reasons.
Yeah, you're actually interesting, and so kind of tell people your story, and we'll get right into the fireside chat.
Yes, of course. I always start with the human side of who I am. We're so much more than our titles. I am a wife, a mother of 3 adult children, 3 daughters. And I'm a community leader. And most recently, I've embarked on this new journey of being an entrepreneur, leaving voluntarily. I always say that, voluntarily leaving a 29-year career in finance to embark on my desire for greater impacts and more purpose-led, purpose-driven initiatives, and launched the RBI Group, which focuses on bringing that to life through financial literacy and innovative marketing solutions. But it's the financial literacy piece that is so close to my heart and something I'm really excited about bringing to so many communities.
And I love this story of, kind of describe this idea of most people are astounded, and it's becoming more common when people, jump ship, leave a high-paying corporate career or a high-paying profession, and just kind of tell, where is it you wanting more? Fed up with just, the BS or what? Tell us what sparked you to embark on this journey.
Yes. So yes, people definitely freak out when you say you are leaving a job that you love, a career that has so many golden handcuffs on you that it is really hard for people to walk away, and it's not for everyone. In fact, I remember when I was telling a friend of mine that I was leaving, they're like, "Are you okay? Let's just give it a couple of days. Is this an emotional decision?" No, it's not. It's a decision that has been in the works for a really long time. I am an entrepreneurial person at my core, always have been. In fact, a lot of the roles that I've had in my corporate career were roles that were started, I launched those roles for the first time or was brought in to make some changes. I'm a builder. That is what I do. And certainly my previous role there was a great deal of building. I navigated the pandemic. And for all intents and purposes, I love what I did. However, there is a calling and a purpose that is so much bigger sometimes than what it is that we see. And for me, that change came in the beginning of this year, when the decision, I should say, to make the leap came at the beginning of this year, when I just experienced some loss of some people that I loved a great deal. And this is not a sad story. This is actually a story of empowerment, because, my grandmother passed away suddenly. And then a week or so later, a mentor of mine died suddenly. And talking to both of them and having those conversations, 2 things came up. One, I was having this conversation with my grandmother. I was having this conversation with my mentor around wanting more and doing more. And they both would ask, well, when are you going to do it? When are you going to make the jump? I like skydiving, so I can go out and jump, but I was really afraid. I'll jump out of a plane, but I was afraid to leave my corporate job. And seeing that they experiencing that loss so suddenly helped me come to the realization that I can get another title. I can get another job. I'm highly qualified and very experienced. But what I don't get is more time to bring my passions to life and to pursue this greater platform to do the things that I wanted to do. Of course, when you're with a corporate role, you're going to do the things that they want you to do. But I had more that I wanted to bring. So I made the decision. The hardest thing is saying the words, I'm leaving. But looking back, it is a crazy time, no doubt, but it is the best decision that I've made thus far.
Yeah, I love that. And same thing. I did the same thing as you when Lehman in 2008. And
Yes.
yeah, and I tell you, like I had procrastinated on that decision for about 2 years, but then it's just like once you take that leap, it's just it's really hard. Like I said, it's like, I think that I would only do it once in my life, but I live to tell about it. So
That's right. And I love that you said you'll live to tell about it. And that's the thing, is the hardest thing is to begin. And on my iPad for years, I still have a image that says begin. And that was my daily reminder to just do the thing that we're afraid of. Everything we want is usually on the other side of fear, but it takes us crazy ones to go out there, jump, and show people, guess what? The water is actually really cool. It's good. It's warm. You can get in. It's not the worst thing, although it's not for everyone. Every entrepreneur started somewhere, and here we are.
yeah, I love that. I love this. And then so kind of talk about this. So we'll talk about financial risks and how have you managed the financial risk associated with starting your own business, and as well as talk about how a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the financial aspects of their business. What sort of advice would you give them to starting out?
Yeah. So what I'll say, and I love this question because as a person who spent my entire career around money, talking about building wealth and finances, this was actually the scariest part, was walking away from a very high paying job and saying, you know what, I'm going to forgo salary. I don't know what this is going to look like. And just to step back before I answer your question, when I left my corporate job, my goal was to reset, recharge, and reimagine what my career was going to look like. Trekked around Italy for a month or so, came back, realized I'm not good at sitting down, and launched the company in a short span, although I had been thinking about it for a while. So the preparation for starting the business really began, it's been over time, not realizing that this is the rainy day that I was saving for, but I've been always really good around having multiple streams of income, also having passive income. You came from the industry, so you know about OBAs, outside business activities. So for me, it was OBA all day. I always had an OBA, faceless brands and things that I was always working on that brought in passive streams of revenue, so that I always had that. And that's something that I still maintain. So having alternate streams of income was really important. I also, they tell you to save an emergency from 3 to 6 months. I took that a step further. It was important for me, especially you hear all these things going on in the economy. You never know when your job is at risk. So I always planned ahead and had, over a year or so of emergency resources that I had available just in case things went wrong in the corporate job. So having that foundation was really important. And also, before launching the business, establishing relationships with bankers. I came into the business, one, with an amazing partner who was very well versed, who had a business for 30 years, but also having the understanding that building a relationship and working to establish business credit was really important. And I had done that with my other company. So wanting to make sure that I had business credit and I wasn't commingling my personal finances with my business finances. That's what I did to prepare. And as you know, when you start this journey, you don't know what you don't know. So being mindful, and luckily I worked at a financial conservative firm prior to starting. So I was a little bit more tight with my money than I came from when I was on Wall Street. But that's helped me a lot, actually, because managing the finances, the needs versus the wants, and not trying to keep up with the Joneses that you see on social media when it comes to entrepreneurship. So we have to be very fiscally responsible, even in managing our run rate and knowing what our numbers look like so that we can be fiscally responsible, as I said. Besides, we talk about finance. how can we talk about financial literacy and not be able to maintain it ourselves?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I'm always secretly laughing when I see these posts of people on yachts throwing these extravagant parties, and then a year later they're gone. But you have
Yeah,
you're,
we're not stunting for the gram over here. This is real life, and it is not as glamorous as everyone sees. And in fact, this first year, it was all good and fun to go to Italy and rest and recharge. And then when I came back and then needed to start the company, I had to get really tight about where I was going to spend my time, where I was going to spend money. And also, we can't be everywhere. But for anyone listening, for you watching, it is not as glamorous as all of the rented yachts and all the experience. Entrepreneurship is not like that at all. And this is a long game. We talk about long-term strategy when it comes to investing. And I left the corporate job. Hopefully, I don't want to go back. I shouldn't say hope. That's not a strategy. But, the goal is to be in this for the long term. And we know that most businesses fail in a year. So having the stamina, but also the finances to keep us the foundation, to keep us afloat, is really important.
Yeah, I love that. And and I love this idea. You're saving for a rainy day in case things go south. You have money to pay your bills, and all of that, and increasing your runway, making every dollar stretch. That's right. That's startup. So one thing is talking about is this idea of financial literacy, which has so many components. But one thing is talking about is that debt is a significant concern for many, and credit card debt hit, can't remember, something trillion. And what's your philosophy on managing debt, actionable steps, etc.?
Yes, this is a topic, and I know there's so many different perspectives on debt. And my perspective is I've always had a really high credit score. I do not play when it comes to my credit. And I also had to take out student loans for myself for college. But managing the debt before I became an entrepreneur was critical. But as an entrepreneur, I have debt. I have it. I mean, and I'm not going to act like I don't. I try to manage it. We're very intentional around the type of debt. We have lines of credit right now, 0% interest, but I need to leverage the debt in order to build the company. So I am comfortable with that as long as we're being strategic. We have an accountant. We work with financial professionals to make sure that we are staying above board. I have personally and professionally, I have a certain debt threshold I do not want to go over. For me, it is a very low threshold. Right now, it is about 10% overall. I try to keep my debt ratio very low. But I also recognize that in order to grow and to scale the company, there may have to be places where I have to have debt. And growing up in a family that really is big, especially culturally, having debt is a bad thing. But debt is an opportunity for growth, is an opportunity to leverage. I'm down with OPM, other people's money. So I'm going to use it so that I can think about things long term. But I think for us, we want to have a conservative initial approach, and we're going to take incremental steps on how we leverage debt so we can ensure that our financial commitments are there, because we do have a team of individuals. And as an owner and as a founder, I also have to be very clear on how much money that I am spending, also how much I'm taking in, just because and I'm not talking about revenue, I'm talking about whether or not I've chosen not to pay myself for now while we build the company. And that's very intentional. But I'd say to anyone, when it comes to debt, you have to look at, is it going to help you grow? Or are you using it to buy things that are not going to help you, more of a liability than an asset? And that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah, I love that. And what's interesting is that you're talking about financial literacy, and debt is not good or bad. It's just how you use it. If you're
That's right.
using it to, capital improvements or investments, hiring staff, getting more done, versus, buying a car or consumption expenses. It's
That's right.
totally different. So,
Right. Yeah. No, do not buy debt to show off for individuals around your lavish lifestyle as an entrepreneur. That's a no. But investing to build your company, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And, it sounds like, one thing is, as we kind of close this out, is really talking about, you talked about emergency money, and you talked about debt management. And then kind of, as we close it out, what are the top 3 foundational principles of financial literacy, personal finance that everyone should know, and how can people contact you if they want to learn about investing for beginners, or just talk about finances, get the word out, raise awareness, etc.?
Oh, yes. This is one of my favorite questions. Anytime I get a chance to talk about money, I am in. I think, when we talk about financial literacy, it means different things to different individuals. But what we must understand for all of us, no matter where we are on this journey, when it comes to our finances, it is a journey. And remembering that is a journey. And our goal here is to improve our overall financial well-being and ideally to build wealth. So some of the things that I always tell people, whether you're an entrepreneur or an individual who's looking for ways to increase their education around financial literacy, is to continue to get information. We are all, you say, hey, you're an expert. I might have more experience in this, but this is a journey. I'm always learning. And I encourage people to pay attention, to continue to read, to continue to work with individuals and other experts that are very well versed in this. For instance, having an accountant is number one to me because that is not my strong suit. So doing that. I think it's also important to pay attention, live below your means. And that sounds very basic. And every time I say that, someone says, well, we already know that. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things in the world that people know that they do not do. And I can't stress it enough. We talked about how it is when people are comparing themselves on what they see on the internet. And then here's everyone with their fancy cars, their fancy boats, their black cards, and showing money and vacations, and then they're gone. Living within their means also means that even as an entrepreneur, I have to do the same thing if I'm thinking about things long term. So taking that to heart and really living it, not just talking about it, because even in financial literacy, people have access to the information and people will say, well, how are your business built around financial literacy? We need the information because people don't always have the understanding on the best way to educate. I'm a big fan of investing. I know I'm skipping a couple of steps here, but at the end of the day, I think people need to pay attention and learn how to build wealth. I think the best way to do that is to invest. And whether you're investing in stocks, bonds, real estate, other companies, the biggest opportunity to build wealth is around investing. And oftentimes, I worked with financial advisors for a really long time, and I continue to work with advisors. And I talk to individuals who say, I don't have the money to invest. We all have an opportunity to understand the basics of finance, right? Budgeting, savings, debt, credit. But building a strong foundation really is about investing and building wealth. And you don't need to know everyone. I'm a big fan of working with a financial advisor and finding someone to help you. We don't have to know everything ourselves. So, understanding the basics of financial literacy, living below your means, investing. And I know you said 3, but I always have to have a bonus because we talked about the emergency fund. And I remember being a child, and I have a younger sister, and I can take $20 still to this day. I am not low maintenance, but I know how to save money. And I would take this money and I would save it. And my sister would get so antsy. She'd need to spend this money. But what I would say is, is it a need or a want? And if you don't necessarily need it, save it. You never know. And I'm in this situation today. There are many things that I said that I would not do that I put off to save money that are benefiting me today as I'm building the RBI group, because I chose to not have instant gratification, which is really hard in this day and age. So while I said something that may sound, pretty generic to people, and I know people do not save. They're not living below their means, and they're not using those extra sources to invest and generate additional streams of income.
Yeah, so well said. Let's thank Dr. Renée for coming on. I love this. Basically, saving and investing over time compounds itself. That will make you wealthy. And if you want to be truly abundant, start a business, become an entrepreneur, invest more. These are the keys. And it all comes down to understanding the value of a dollar, saving a dollar, and what you do with it. So yeah, it's so wonderful. And people think it's rocket science, but it's not. So it's just habits.
It's not. It's just that it's habits, and we are our habits, right? So whether it's our health, whether it's finances, wellness overall is really aligned to our habits. So I know you asked me earlier how people can reach me. LinkedIn is, I love LinkedIn. So always can find me at Dr. Renée Baker on LinkedIn, and check out our website around our tools and resources for the RBI group at therbigroup.com. But we're just getting started, and the best is yet to come.
Awesome. And let's thank Dr. Renée for coming onto the show. And with that, thanks for coming onto the podcast.